What is the funniest lie to tell kids? My kids were getting the vaccinations and the whole trip there I told them that getting shots in the eyeballs was the most effective way. They were terrified. When we got to the doctor's office and the nurse came in with the needles, I said, "Isn't it true that getting your shots in the eyeball the most effective way to prevent future illnesses?" She said she heard about a study they were conducting and didn't know the results. She then looked at my kids and asked if she could give them their shots in their arms instead. You never saw kids so happy and excited to roll up their sleeves in your life. All smiles and no tears. Parenting pro tip, right there. That the toy monster steals their toys at night. Specifically the ones that aren't put away. Oh, we have one of those. It's called the dog. It doesn't steal as much as it brutally mangles toys to uselessness. Don't get beagles unless you like having everything get eat. When I was little, I built a Lego remote control for the TV. My dad was like, "Hey, see if it will change the channel." I kept hitting it, nothing. All of a sudden, a few channels change, and I'm screaming and jumping up and down. Then it stopped working. My dad goes, "That was magic. Awesome Lego remote. Thanks, Dad." My dad did something similar. He said a new camcorder was voice activated, which would have been magic in the 90s, or whenever it was. Made me say camcorder, play video, and holy shit it played through its cable onto the TV. Made me say camcorder, pause video, and holy shit it did. It had a small remote that he was pushing the buttons on. My baby sister was 4 when I was 20. One day it was storming very hard, very loud lightning. Sister was terrified, but eventually fell asleep. While she was napping I had to run out into the rain for a bit and was absolutely soaked. Maybe 10 minutes later it stopped raining and my sister woke up and saw me and asked why I was so wet. I said, "Well, since you were so scared, I went and fought the storm. I won," and pointed outside. She ran to look, saw it was clearing up, and the utter awe in her face when she looked back at me. I was her hero for a day. Too cute. My sister told me that yellow leaves tasted like bananas and brown tasted like chocolate. I apparently went and ate leaves, but came back and told her they don't taste how she said they would. She told me I must have eaten a bad batch. So I continued to try find and eat these tasty leaves. Too bad you couldn't find a star leaf. Those things looked amazing. When my daughter was 4, she decided she really wanted a horse. I told her that, since horses eat money, and I don't earn all that much, we simply couldn't get one. She believed that horses actually ate money until she was 14. Then she called me an asshole. In my defense, I have a cousin who has horses, and given how much she spends on them, I'm convinced to this day that they do actually eat money. I had a horse. It would have been cheaper if he'd just eaten money. I miss that asshole, though. That's the one thing you miss. Unplugs the joystick, you control the badge eyes. As a child, my parents told me if I did something bad I was going to baby jail. I believed in baby jail until I was like 12 years old. If I started crying in a public place my dad would say, "Mary, stop that. You don't want to go to baby jail, do you?" And then I would just scream louder, like I don't want to go to baby jail. I was kind of a well-behaved kid until I realized baby jail wasn't real. Then I turned into a teenager and they told me that juvenile detention was a thing and I didn't believe them. Edit, I never went to juvie. I'm sorry to disappoint everyone. And that's why I stole that car, Your Honor. My little sister used to get upset when I wouldn't take her to PG-13 movies. I told her they were called PG-13 because only 13 people could see them at a time, and we were too late because the 13 people had already gone in. That's actually surprisingly plausible, at least for a kid. Personal group. 13 feet, maybe? I'd probably have believed it when I was a jungan. That if they unscrew their belly button, their bum will fall off. When me and my brothers were kids and complained about something, my dad would go to the phone and say, "Hello, complaint department," and describe our grievance. He said the complaint department for everybody was in Calgary and was run by someone called Chief Alakanoke, and he was getting tired of our complaints. I believed that for the longest time. When we were in the car and it was raining, my mom would wait for a bridge or tunnel, and as we approached it, she would tell us she was going to make the rain stop in 3, 2, 1. She told us she could only make the rain stop for a minute because it made her so tired. My siblings and I were convinced she was magic. My dad made the traffic lights turn grey. I asked why he waited a few minutes before using his power, and he said it's important to let others have a turn and go ahead of you. They have 11 fingers. Have them count the fingers on one hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. On the other hand, count backwards from 10 on each finger. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. What is 5 plus 6? Watch them stare at their hands. I read about a father who told his daughter she was half human, half mermaid, but she had the top half of mermaid and bottom half of a human. Maybe not the funniest, but it's sure cute that they get to believe they are half mermaid. That's pretty clever. That if they don't eat their vegetables they won't be able to poop and they'll explode. I was at my friend's and his 4 to 5-year-old nephew was over, and he stole my friend's phone. So me thinking it would be funny go, hey Brian, I'm gonna have to call the invisible cops on my invisible phone. So he starts laughing saying no you won't. And I pretend to hold my invisible phone up to my ear and go, hello, invisible cops? Yeah, Brian is stealing his uncle's phone. Oh, you'll be here in 5 minutes to take him to invisible jail? Okay, I'll keep him here. Immediately he starts freaking out crying. I was on a flight where a kid saw the button for calling a flight attendant, didn't know what it was, but clearly was thinking about pressing it, and so asked his dad what it did. His dad said it opens a trapdoor under your seat and drops you out of the bottom of the plane. Afterwards, the kid spent the whole flight intrigued by the button, thinking about and talking about pushing it, but too worried to actually do it. I forget how it started, but my boyfriend at the time was trying to convince his 4-year-old brother that his feet were going to fall off. The lie got more and more elaborate, like explaining how he'd have to learn how to walk around on his ankles until his adult feet came in, etc. He was skeptical, even when I agreed that it was true that everyone loses their baby feet before their adult feet grew in. At the time their house was being upgraded from dial-up internet to DSL, and the phone tech was wandering in and out. He happened to come in towards the end and said, oh yeah, I remember when I lost my baby feet. Took a year for my new ones to come in. Little brother's face fell immediately because it must be true if the stranger was corroborating. He ran out of the room to tell his mom, yelling, but I like my feet, and we all laughed. Even his mom, when she found out. He's an adult now, and my husband and I still razz him about it when we see him. Edit. Husband reminded me about the part where he yelled about liking his feet. Phone tech is a real MVP here. I told my 7-year-old sister that if you lick your fingers and wipe it off in your ear you will have way better hearing, and when she did it, I talked a little louder and raised the volume on our TV when she wasn't looking. She did this every day till her teacher said that it wasn't true to yell. Doctor convinced my sister to wet willy herself for a week. I used to hold my feet up in the air and tell my sister to smell my socks because I stepped in candy. She fell for it way more times than I expected. Sometimes it would take some convincing as she was a little dubious from previous episodes. What did you do to convince her? Lied. I told my daughter that our dog turns into a bat at night and flies around. She was unhappy when she woke up one night and he was still a dog. Now she tells the legend of the bat dog to her brothers. My mom once told me a tiny man lived in a teeny hole in our wall. I used to stay up late watching that hole to see if he ever came out. My friend said he was once in the car with his family and they drove past an industrial plant. Smoke was billowing out of a chute, as they do at these plants. He asked his mom what it was, and she told him it was the cloud factory and those were the clouds being released into the sky. He said he honestly thought clouds were man-made for a better portion of his life. My friend is a little person One time when we were out, a little girl asked her why she was so short. She told the girl that her shoes ate her feet and the bottoms of her legs, and we kept walking. I looked back to see the little girl frozen in fear looking at her feet. What else there even is in life for dwarfs, if not ducking with people? That your ears turn purple when you lie. My best friend's mom told her this when we were little, and she covered her ears or took down her ponytail every time she lied until she was 8. My child believes that a red dot appears on your forehead when you lie. He rarely ever lies, but the few times he's tried, he covers up his forehead.